What's up, everybody? Welcome back to TheBiringPodcast. Today we got a celebrity saying that we're teaching our kids the wrong thing and success is actually given and not earned.
CaptainAmerica is tripping.
Then we got Donald Trump versus Doug Ford.
Yeah, I don't know if this thing's gonna get better from here or worse.
Who knows? Next, we got Marco Rubio at the G7 Foreign Ministers meeting in Quebec.
Yeah, did he let us know where this 51st state thing started?
Mm-hmm. And I feel like they also showed their cards a bit about what the U.S. thinks.
Yeah.
And then we got a new prime minister in Canada.
I don't remember voting for this guy.
I don't think anyone did. And then is animosity towards immigrants on the rise in Canada?
Yeah, we all know we're talking about Indians here. Let's be real.
After all that, Sukhbir, what do we have for half topic?
So we have a story about a missing student in the DR. We have the new SnowWhite movie, and we have some expensive produce.
And stay tuned for the question segment at the end.
We'll give you our thoughts and opinions on all of it. Also, go like and subscribe, and go follow us at TheBiringPodcast on TikTok and Instagram if you haven't done so already. So, let's start with this clip of Captain America himself talking about success.
I've been in the business 24 years, right? And I've seen people go from nothing to the biggest stars in the world. I've seen people go from one role to winning Academy Awards and doing all this shit. And what I realized yesterday thinking about it, we're lying to our kids, dog. And I think that's a big problem in our community. We tell our kids that they can, and this is fresh on my heart, like I literally just came to this conclusion last night. We tell our kids if they do right and they make the good grades and they go to the programs and they will become successful. If you work hard enough, your work will be paid off. And that's not true. Success is given. It's not earned.
That's why.
Because you can be the most brilliant. If one person don't tap you, each one of y'all. There were people who could hit harder, who could catch better, who could run faster. But somebody said, you're the one. And the other 50 behind you fell off. You know what I mean?
I mean, there's some merit to what this guy's saying here. You do need connections along the way.
I think that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. I think what he's talking about is luck. People get lucky.
Yeah.
People, when he's saying you, because that person got lucky. I think this whole it's earned thing, like it's not like, no, if you work hard, you can be successful. If you're trying to tell kids not to work hard now because they're not gonna, but this given thing is bullshit. It's luck. Yeah, that's all I think it is. I think what he's saying is absolutely wrong.
I think one, I didn't watch the podcast in its entirety, right? So we're just reacting to one little clip, right?
Yeah.
And two, I think, yeah, you don't want to give this kind of speech to your kids, right? Personally, it's not something this isn't something that you would want to do, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like there are certain levels of success where that is somewhat true, right? The whole networking idea where it's who you know and not what you know kind of idea, right? But I think on the other hand of things, like if you're going to tell the everyday kid, like what you're doing, right? Like don't work hard, right? There's going to be some sort of luck that's going to, be given your way at some point in life. And that's what's important, right? Like, because even the thing about luck, right? Like what's the saying? When when preparedness meets opportunity.
Or hard work, you get luck. Right?
Yeah, you get
That's
luck,
what I was thinking.
Right? That's like basically the equation, right? So if you are at a place where you have an opportunity and you haven't worked hard and you don't have the skills to seize that opportunity.
Exactly.
Like, what are you going to do if somebody even gives you an opportunity?
Yeah.
Sure.
Right?
It's also, this guy's literally Captain America, right?
Yeah.
What kind of
What
message
he's talking about though, like he's not as big as say the previous Captain America, so he thinks that he just didn't get it given to him. Like, what's he even relating this on?
So I think, okay, my take on it would be, again, because we didn't see the
Chris Evans, right? The one before him?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I would say more.
No, I don't think he's talking about Captain America. I think he's talking about kids in general, right? And I think the idea is because that he has a level of success and wealth that average people don't have, right?
Yeah.
So if you have kids like that, they're going to certain schools, they're going to have a lot of things kind of given to them 100%. In that sense, right?
For sure.
So if their parents are going to open doors for them, right? In those kind of communities, there are so-called gatekeepers, right? Like people that are going to be like, no, like, nepotism is definitely
100%.
involved, right? And you see that all the time, right? So if you're ultra successful, if you have somebody who, depending on whether you want to be an actor or an athlete, right? We'd see the criticism of LeBron and Bronny and stuff, right? So nepotism exists, right?
Yeah.
So I think the idea is there maybe because of what's been going on with LeBron, like you see it in news headlines and stuff. So his mind kind of got there a little bit. It's like if you take a kid who's not as talented, right? Or the same amount of talent, right? And one is given the opportunity because of nepotism, right? It's easier.
So
right?
do you think he's particularly just talking about nepotism?
No, I don't think it's specifically nepotism, but I think like even to what he's saying, he's seen people in Hollywood go from like nowhere to something big, right?
Yeah.
And he's implying or alluding to the fact that it was given to them,
Yeah.
right? And that's easily true. It doesn't have to be nepotism, right? Somebody could just think that you're that person, right? So they're gonna put you in that space to succeed, right?
I
feel
always
like
yeah.
sorry.
Sure.
I feel like that perspective is very one-sided because, yeah, it's true that can be one way to get to success. It's based on your networking and luck and who you know. But hard work is a way to get to success. Like it's a proven thing that's happened in the past. That's why people keep saying it to do it.
For sure.
You can take it back to like his role, right? He's Captain America. Look how many kids love superhero movies.
That's the thing.
They look up to like Captain America or any other superhero, and
Yeah.
he's saying this. Imagine like hearing that. Okay, they're not watching this podcast,
Yeah.
but just the idea of putting it out there, like it wasn't the right move, in my opinion.
Especially your movie just came out, right?
Right.
Like, as a parent, that might detract you from wanting to watch that movie, even, right?
No, I think
your
that's like
kids?
reading into it too much. I think it's just like the pressures and he's just trying to think outside of the box, right? Because these days,
It
a
is
lot
what
of
he's doing.
podcasts, like they talk about similar things and stuff. So
Yeah.
people like to take different angles on how they're going to approach like certain topics and stuff. Right. And I was just playing devil's advocate.
Yeah, yeah.
Like for me personally, when it comes to my kids, I'm not one that's going to give them any sort of speech that says like, hey, listen, hard work doesn't matter.
Don't do
Right?
that.
Right.
Instead, what you want to do is make sure that you instill hard work in your kids as early as possible. Right.
sure.
Like teach them. You want to instill this idea of motivation where you can teach them, hey, listen, if you do this, you're going to get that.
Yeah.
Right. And if that clicks, as early as
Yeah.
that clicks, you can motivate a kid who could be motivated throughout life. Right. They understand this ability. Like if I worked hard at this, then I'll get this. And that'll help them throughout
I
their
even
life.
think
Right.
the idea of networking is not a dumb kid doing it. A kid putting themselves out there, whether they're intellectually smart or dumb,
Yeah.
putting them in that circle, talking a certain way, getting ahead through that way. That's not a lazy, doesn't want to do anything with their life kid.
Yeah.
That seems
You're
like
making connections,
motivation to
right?
me.
You're also working hard to do that.
And if they like, okay, they weren't with you intellectually, but they moved forward like that, you're gonna hate on them because they made the right moves that way.
Even on the nepotism thing that
Yeah.
he was saying, I never got that argument. Like even if they're successful, right? They're rich. You can you line up your kid in a successful place. Wouldn't you do that? I would do that.
Of course
In my
you would do
business,
that.
I would do
Of
that.
course you
Make
would.
your kid's life easier.
Who doesn't do that? Right. It's
Everyone
just
does
that
it.
you're not as successful as LeBron. So LeBron's going to catch that.
Even
hate
like all
recently,
celebrities,
right?
LeBron, like you
Yeah.
know, Tom Hanks, Arnold Schwarzenegger,
Yeah,
all these
anyone.
guys, like,
No, but like Indy's saying, like, wouldn't everyone?
100%.
Right? Like, you're gonna leave your kid with your
I got my
assets.
first job I got because my mom got it for me. Like, let's be real.
You're gonna
The
leave.
nepo baby thing is stupid.
Yeah, you're gonna leave your kid with all your assets. If you have any kind of business, if the kid wants to be a part of the business, you're going to somewhat let them succeed, right? You've created this pathway, right?
Yeah.
Which then you get to this point where a kid's gonna succeed because of the pathway that you've created, right?
That's
Yeah.
what makes me think like he's being like he's sad about something, like he didn't get as far as he could have, because somebody else similar position is probably doing a little bit better than him.
Or maybe if you work really hard to get to a certain place, but somebody else, it just seems like it's a little bit easier for them,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And you never caught that
People
break
like
or
to
did
think
this.
that though in lots of different scenarios.
I think it's a thing, this victim mentality,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
self-pity shit, that's not for me.
Yeah.
I've never been that way. I don't like to be the victim ever. Even if somebody feels sorry for me, I'm like, ew, nah, like I'm good. Don't feel sorry for me,
Yeah.
right? And the same goes for like trying to justify the stupid things that you do in life, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes you just do things, you're like, oh, I'm sorry. There's no excuse
Own
for
up
that,
to it,
right?
yeah.
because it teaches you like slowly that there's consequences to the things you say, there's consequences to the things you do. Sometimes there's a fork in the road and you have to choose either this or that. And based on whatever you choose, your life is going to take a turn. Some family member might hate you, you might lose money, right? You can't just have everything.
For sure.
Right? But like this whole conversation about like kids in general, I don't know how you can give a kid a speech of not working hard.
It's crazy. I would think the complete opposite, right? You probably want to teach a kid that hard work will always prevail.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't matter what you're doing. Even you could be an electrician, a plumber, a musician, an artist. Yeah, if you work hard at something, people will pay for your expertise and experience in a field, any field, right?
Yeah. Imagine if you're a plumber, right? Are you going to say like plumbers shouldn't work hard? Like, hey, listen, like, this doesn't be opportunity. Obviously we're minimizing what he's saying to like, he doesn't mean it from a plumber's standpoint.
Sure. Yeah.
Right? But again, man, even this whole networking aspect of it, I think you have to have a certain level of success, right? Where you're in rooms, right? Where then that opportunity comes.
Yeah.
Right. If you're starting on the ground floor and you don't have the necessary skills to succeed, what are you going to do? If you didn't work hard, you don't have the intelligence or the knowledge or the physical skills or whatever field you're in, whatever it requires, what are you going to do?
How do you keep that position that you even got to if you don't have those skills, right?
I mean, there are certain stories of like people who are like grifters or frauds.
Yeah.
In the past, I know there was some guy, Edmonton Oilers, like he kind of like convinced like a whole bunch of people.
Okay. There was a 30 for 30 on that.
Yeah. Convinced like a bunch of people that he had a lot of money. These banks were giving him money. He ended up buying the Edmonton Oilers.
He just got a bunch of loans from banks.
Yeah, because he had
That was wild.
he had like a golfing, like it was a bunch of his golf buddies. Like that's kind of how it started. He's acted rich, but that's not everyone.
Yeah.
That's when it's given to you.
Yeah.
Right?
I don't know. It's a completely wrong message that he should have sent.
He should have like talked to someone before he had his like epiphany of a thought.
Success is given. That's literally what he said.
It's not
That's
earned.
wild.
I think it's not earned.
He's like, we're lying to our kids.
Yeah,
So he didn't earn his job, right? It was just given.
That's what he's saying.
That's why he's going on this advertising or he's marketing his movie like that.
Especially given the movie, right? Like,
I think it doesn't apply to the average kid. Maybe he's just been out of touch or tone deaf when it comes to that, right? Like he just doesn't know that it's not applying to the average person listening to that, right?
I don't know, man.
But yeah, please like and subscribe as it really does help the podcast out tremendously. Now let's get back to the pod. But yeah, let's move on to Donald Trump versus Doug Ford. Here's a clip of Donald Trump talking about how things played out with Ford.
Canada, and I respect very much. As you know, there's a very strong man in Canada who said he was going to charge a surcharge or a tariff on electricity coming into our country. He has called and he said he's not going to do that. Okay, he's not going to do that.
Not gonna do it.
And it would have been a very bad thing if he did, and he's not going to do that, so I respect that.
Will you make a different decision now about the tariffs on Canada? Will you reduce it?
That, but probably so, yeah.
You're looking
He was
at
a
it.
gentleman.
Will you reduce it back?
He was a gentleman. Look, I said it before.
He just
We
cuts off
give
the report.
Canada $200 billion a year. We subsidize Canada between all of the things we give them and trade. We don't have to have cars made in Canada. We don't have to have lumber from Canada. We have tremendous lumber. We have tremendous trees. All I have to do is unfreeze them
Tremendous
from
trees.
some of the restrictions that were put on. I can do that with an
Best trees in the
executive
world.
order. Canada should honestly become our 51st state.
Yeah,
We
here
wouldn't
we
have
go.
a northern border problem.
Again.
We wouldn't have a tariff problem. They don't have
Nobody has
much.
a problem.
They spend very little, as you know, the least of almost anybody on military, and we spend the most of anybody on military. We have a great military. I rebuilt the military during my first time. We're going to have to rebuild it a little bit again.
A little bit.
Not that much.
Not
but
that
we're going
much.
to have to rebuild it a little bit again. But Canada would be great as our cherished 51st state. You wouldn't have to worry about borders. You wouldn't have to worry about anything. And by the way, Canada is very highly taxed, and we're very low tax. We're considered a low tax nation because of me, because I cut the taxes so low. So the people of Canada would pay much less tax.
But just to be
It
clear,
makes a lot of sense. And by the way, when you take away that
Cut 'em off
artificial line that looks like it was done with a ruler, and that's what it was. Some guy sat there years ago and they said, rah.
Yeah.
Well, when you take away that,
That
and you look
imaginary
at that
line thing,
beautiful
it's so annoying.
formation of Canada and the United States, there is no place anywhere in the world that looks like that.
Okay.
This guy was made for TV.
Right? Like, what was all of that? Right? Imagine if somebody took a ruler and went, rah. Right? Like,
Every time they're asking him a question, he just cuts them off.
yeah, he's like, hold on.
He was a gentleman.
Yeah, he was a gentleman.
Shut up.
That compliment was good too, eh? He's like, he was just a strong man, and then he was like, strong man. Like in his head, like you can see him processing.
Like,
He's
why'd
like,
I say that?
But if he did it, it would have been bad. It would have been really bad for him.
Yeah, I don't know. Both parties think they won in this whole little rift that they had going. I guess Canadian media was saying that it was a win for Ford
Yeah, they
and
said
vice
Ford
versa.
thought it was a good conversation, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's how he came out and said it, right? He said it was a good conversation we had, feeling really positive. Another meeting next week. That's kind of what he was saying. Yeah. But when you hear his tone and stuff, right? Like he's coming off as like I don't know, some kid who just like got told what to do or something, right? And like even him, he didn't meet with Lutnick. I mean, he didn't meet with Donald Trump. He met with Lutnick. Right?
Yeah.
So I feel like it's kind of like he fumbled this whole thing, right? You're going to give them this threat of electricity, right? Tariff, right? Like to tax their electricity. And then the second they say, okay, we don't want that to happen, right? Can you lift it? Otherwise, we're going to do, first he says we're going to do 50% tariff, right? Double it on steel and aluminum. And then he goes, unless you lift it, right? And they probably some sort of conversation going back and forth.
Yeah.
And like he's saying he was a very nice man. Right? He was very considerate when he was talking, right? So then when he talked like that, this guy's like, okay, I'm not going to lift all the blanket tariffs and the steel aluminum. He's like, we're just not going to double up what we would have reacted to your electricity to begin with. And Ford just took the electricity tax away.
Yeah.
Wait,
right?
so then we didn't get anything?
Nothing. We didn't get anything.
What kind of negotiation is that?
He just brought him to the table. He's like, because now we started these negotiations and they're going to continue next week.
Yeah.
The whole thing is confusing to me. There's tariffs, there's no tariffs, they're coming, they're 25, they're 200.
Yeah.
It's I don't know what it is. I don't know what they're talking about. I don't know what the outcomes are.
It's confusing to everybody, right?
Well, you have the provincial government doing one thing, and federally, we don't even know who the prime minister is, right? So it's like,
well, it's anybody.
Yeah. Even when he was talking about trees, so I'm not 100% sure, maybe you can Google
magnificent trees.
Yeah, but apparently, from what I know, the trees in the more north, the trees are, this sounds like a crazy person saying it, but it's harder wood. Okay. Right? So when you chop them down, they're better to build houses, they're better for construction. Like the more south you go, the softer the wood gets, right?
Okay.
But it's so they actually, it's in their best interest to use Canadian wood.
Yeah.
Right? And Canada's full of forests.
He's just talking shit, which he like always does.
Right?
There's a reason they want our minerals and stuff, right? They're good. That's what's cherished about your 51st state, right?
You are right, like because of the climate.
Yeah.
It's drier.
Yeah.
So it's stronger.
Yeah, it's preferred for construction.
And it's able to, it's just, the sustainability is better. Like you grow back.
Yeah. So like a lot of the times I feel like when he talks, he doesn't even know these things. He just
100%.
He's like, we have trees.
Obviously, he talks about the imaginary line. Our border is like an imaginary line.
Yeah, it's also like when he's like, we don't need to make cars in Canada, right? Like Canada consumes a lot of the cars that are made in the States, right?
Yeah.
Some of those cars are even from other car manufacturers, Honda plants, Toyota plants, right? Those aren't American cars, right? So theoretically, if Canada progressed for the next 20 years, you can't make Honda plants and Toyota plants here. You can't go to Europe and have German cars, Audi, BMW here.
Yeah.
You can't lift Chinese EV cars and have them here. Canada can work in reverse too and just be like, okay, fine, Chevy, Ford, GM, we don't want it. Escalade, no, we don't want it. Shut it down. And then now there's no auto trade.
Nice.
Escalade is nice. I'm not saying that's a solution. I'm just saying the way that he talks. Right?
Yeah.
And Canada can't do that now because of the position we're in. But if they had built this thing that way to begin with, then they would be able to do things like that.
Yeah, for sure. I guess in theory they could do it too. It's just even he says it's going to hurt for a bit. It's going to hurt for a little more than a bit. You got to restructure everything and how you do trade, how you've done it in the past.
Yeah.
It's going to take a while to implement all
the one thing I think that's kind of messed up here is with this whole tariff negotiation, I think Doug Ford completely messed this up now. I think because the electricity was the one card he had to pull, and he pulled it, and the guy's like, "Take it off, otherwise I'm gonna double it." He's like, "We're good," right? Because he just wanted to get on the phone with the guy,
But
right?
then you got a compliment from Trump.
Yeah, that's it. And it's like a backwards compliment too. He's like,
So
because
backhanded.
if he wasn't nice, then there would have been a big problem.
That's the
He'd
thing.
probably like phew better than being called the governor.
Yeah. Oh, sure.
I kind of fell for it too when they were like saying it. They're like forward one and stuff. But when you guys were just talking about it right now,
Yeah.
like in front of me, I'm like, that's so dumb. So this guy has this one card and he's like 25%. I'm gonna charge you these tariffs, and that guy's like, okay, it's not that we're taking anything off. We might double ours. Do you want that to happen? No. And then he just takes off.
Yeah, so
That's
I don't
so
even,
weak.
you know what it is? I don't even know if it was that. I feel like it was a part of it was that this guy was naive into thinking that like,
He wouldn't do it.
no, that if I take this off, they really appreciate it. Like the threat worked, right? And now we're negotiating the USMCA. I think that's what he thought was happening, right? But the optics of it all was like what you're saying. He threatened, and then he's like, "Take it off," and then he's like, "Okay."
Yeah.
Right. And that's kind of how it played. And I feel like when it comes to premiers, like he just got reelected, right?
Yeah.
And he was the best option Ontario had.
Yeah,
Even
for
now,
sure.
right? Like, would you want Bonnie Crombie doing
Hell
this?
no.
What were they gonna do? Right? Like, I don't even know if Lutnick would have talked to her.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm not trying to be sexist or anything.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, right?
Yeah.
Like, but again, like it's, I don't know. It puts Ontario. It put this whole thing in a weird place because, like, right now, the only card you have, the next time you say we're gonna do this, he's gonna be like, "Do it."
Yeah. So
This
what's
is what he said, and I quote, "This I can say is honestly the best meeting I've ever had." What the
Board said
Oh.
that?
board said
that was
that.
forward, eh?
So that's what I mean. Like, are you sure that's what happened? He was just like, okay, don't put the additional tariffs.
Yeah. That is what happened.
So I think because before they weren't even coming to the table, right, with the USMCA and everything. But
Yeah.
before we go deeper into it, let's just look at these are merely our opinions based on our life experiences, knowledge, and research. Maybe you agree or disagree or simply want to be a part of the conversation. Leave a comment and let us know your thoughts. Now let's get back to the pod. Let's move on to Marco Rubio and what he said. And here's a clip of him at the G7 foreign ministers meeting talking about tariffs and Canada being the 51st state.
So let me explain on the tariffs. This is important for everybody to understand. This keeps being characterized as a hostile move against our allies. These are global tariffs on steel, on aluminum, on autos, on semiconductors. Eventually, the president stated this. And then in April, the intention to put tariffs, assuming that the study comes back and so forth. But what they've discussed is a global reciprocal tariff. Understand what that means. That means basically whatever some country charges us, that's what we're going to charge them. The goal the president has made very clear is he wants to reset the baseline of international trade, which he believes, and I agree, is unfair to the United States. This is not meant as a hostile move against Japan or Germany or anybody else. This is not about, this is about balancing and fairness in trade. So he wants to reset the baseline, and once that baseline is reset, then you can enter into bilateral negotiations with individual countries about changes that can be made to our trade, our bilateral trade. The president has made his argument as to why he thinks Canada would be better off joining the United States for economic purposes. There's a disagreement between the president's position and the position of the Canadian government. I don't think that's a mystery coming in, and it wasn't a topic of conversation because that's not what the summit was about.
I know that we're not speaking about Canada becoming the 51st state at this meeting, but I'm asking you now, do you consider what the president has said about Canada becoming the 51st state, is he serious?
You know, I'll tell you how that came about, okay? He's in a meeting with
He's
Trudeau,
holding back
and
laughter.
Trudeau basically says that if the U.S. imposes tariffs on Canada, Canada couldn't survive as a nation state, at which point the president said, well, then you should become a state. And that's where this began. That said, the president has made an argument for why. He says he loves Canada. He says he made an argument for why Canada would be better off joining the United States from an economic perspective and the like. He's made that argument repeatedly, and I think it stands for itself.
Another wonderful thing Trudeau did for us, right? That's where he got the
Oh my God.
goddamn idea. He got it straight from Trudeau.
So he's implying that whole thing, that idea, we don't know if that's true or he's just saying it.
Because
But
was this guy in the room?
who? Marco Rubio?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's the Secretary of State, right? So I'm guessing
I imagine
he
he
was
was
there, right? But or Trump talks to him all the time.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But he's basically saying that ever since Trudeau flew to Mar-a-Lago and had
Yeah,
that conversation that we wouldn't survive, right? He kind of, from there, it was like 51st state shit. I think it's the same thing that Doug Ford just did, right? Like, you're too eager, right? Because before I was saying actually go negotiate with the U.S., but like now I listen to that and I'm like, okay, what he kept saying, reset baseline, right? So they're doing this globally. They're doing it with Europe. They're doing it with China. They're doing it with Japan. They're doing it with everybody, and Canada and Mexico. They want to come in, put these tariffs in first as a basis on all of them, whether it's 10%, 25%, whoever is doing whatever. After it's done, then they want to renegotiate all trade deals. That's what he's saying. Fully showed his cards.
He just showed his, completely showed his cards. I don't know how Trump feels about that.
If he's talking like that, he basically just gave you the entire playbook on how they want to do this. Right.
Then aren't people going to react now that way because he told?
Theoretically, you should, right? But then over here we have Doug Ford's doing one thing, right? And then federally, we got something completely different going on. Right? Like federally, I think, our new guy, we're going to talk about him in a second. He basically is looking for alternatives to the F-35 jets, right? Canada, I think, is in contract to buy 88 of them. They did sign that contract last year, right?
From the U.S. company, right?
Yeah, from Lockheed Martin. Right? And they're supposed to be, I think it's like a $19 billion contract, right? Okay. And now they're trying to outsource this to, I think Sweden's one of them. They're looking for other companies in Europe and stuff. And traditionally, even in the military, they don't like to fly fleets, from what I know, of different types of aircrafts in the same fleet, right? They're saying that there's a certain number of them that they put a down payment on already that they're supposed to receive, I think, this year or next year. I think they'd have to receive those regardless. But like they have that going on. Then they have those destroyers that the three Navy destroyers that they just bought from, I think they're being built in the UK. Right? And those that was another, I can't remember how expensive that deal was, but if you look at those two things, you see Canada federally trying to make other contracts with other countries, right, predominantly Europe, right, and they're trying to stay away from China. Even at this G7 meeting, their
$8 billion.
How much was it?
$8 billion.
$8 billion is the down payment. I think it's going to end up costing
$22.2 billion.
Yeah, $22 billion. But
For 15.
So then I feel like when it comes to, even at the G7, they're talking about the Northern Passage a lot and how they have, the China and Russia up there and stuff. That was part of their entire conversation, right? So it seems like Canada's federally leaning Europe, right? And provincially, right, Doug Ford's out here, renegotiating the USMCA, right? And Danielle Smith, we saw her do something similar, right? And he should have took I would say negotiate with the US if you guys are actually on the same team, right? All these guys keep talking about unity. Canada needs to be unified, right? The patriotism's great, right? But if you don't have a game plan on how to be like, guys, we're a team, this is how we're going to approach this thing. You have one person negotiating with the US, the other person making trade deals with Europe. Like, what are you doing?
I mean, it would help if they could meet in Parliament, right? That would be nice, but that's prorogued.
Yeah, then there's that, right?
I think Trump was just waiting till Trudeau got out or another person got elected. He was never going to negotiate with him, and he took that time to
make fun of him.
Make fun of him, make fun of the country, and create this whole narrative behind it.
He's not letting it go though.
It's all negotiating.
The 51st state thing, but come on.
But the 51st state stuff is just rhetoric. It's never going to happen.
He brings it up
but even he knows it's not happening.
Yeah, and they keep saying, okay, so if you've ever read The Art of the Deal, right, which is something that this guy tells you his own playbook, right? You overreach, right? And you go for something very drastic, right? And then you settle something ahead of what you would really be willing to settle for, right? So who knows? Like if his idea is to be like, how do I get Canada in a place where there's a common currency and free trade actually opens up to a point where we can use a lot of Canada's resources without being fined whatsoever. And if that's his end goal, then saying you're the 51st state, you would be the 50. That's a nice starting point for that.
Yeah.
That doesn't sound so ridiculous, right? Then if you approach a naive, person in power, they're going to be like, US dollar free trade. Oh yeah, let's do that.
Yeah.
Right? They jump on board. And then if you look at Greece as a case study, right? Like we talked about it how many times, right? When Greece decided to adopt the EU, like completely screwed them because they can't devalue their currency. They can't lower interest rates. They're a highly leveraged country, just like Canada. So as a case study, you get screwed when that happens, right? So it's one side to be delusional and just be like, yeah, man, American dollar, but it doesn't always work, right?
Yeah, even I feel like Americans are over at this point. Rogan was talking about it too. He's just like, it's not actually going to happen. I'm tired of this. Let's be friends with the Canadians again. Because there's actually that people are feeling that, oh, they're the enemy now on both sides, right? And you shouldn't be that naive. It's always been a negotiating tactic. And now they've told us, literally, Rubio did.
Yeah, like I was watching like snowbirds that, you know, they go to like Florida for the winter or whatever. They're getting like attacked. Like, because they're Canadian, not physically, just like
their houses are getting
egged. These old people,
they're just like name calls. People feel very strongly about like the things that Trump's saying.
I feel like this anti-American, anti-Canadian stuff is a little ridiculous, right? Like you have a couple of governments, mainly Trump's administration, who's taking this very tariff approach, which can easily backfire, right? Like it hasn't yet, but if this thing's not resolved by midterms. So he had like a 24-month time period to resolve this tariff situation. By midterms, he's going to have to let go of this.
We know that, right? That's why he's coming out so strong on it.
So then if you're Canada, okay, so my question is to you guys, right? If you're Canada right now, how do you think you should react? Knowing the information that Marco Rubio just said and knowing the way that this stuff's played out so far.
Like for me, my thing is that what you were saying before, there has to be a unified front to attack this thing, right? You can't have Ford doing that and they're doing something else on the side with Europe and stuff.
Right.
So that would be the first step. Agree. Open up parliament where you talk about things. And this guy should be doing that.
So to me, I feel like there's two clear options here, right? And you got to pick one and just roll with it, right? If you're going to give these threats of like tariffing things and dollar for dollar and electricity and all that, then stick to it. And just like he's saying, there's going to be a hard time for America, then there's a hard time for Canada. Right. And let's just do it. And this is what it's going to be. And the central bank's going to lower interest rates and our currency is going to go down. Whatever. This is what it's going to take to win this tariff war. And Canada, get ready. It's going to be economically, this is going to be a difficult time for the next 2 years. Let's go. Right. Because then you're like, okay, fine. We're not backing off of this. You can 25%, whatever the hell you want. We're going to create alliances in Europe. We're going to go do whatever we got to do and outsource and try to make this whole thing work for us. And we're going to build Canada back. Right. Or pick the side where you're like, we're going to negotiate with these guys and keep telling them like, hey, listen, by any means necessary, we don't want to keep going through this tariff stuff. Right. So if that's the case, stop talking about the 51st state. Nobody cares about the 51st state. We're not going to be the 50th. No, let him keep saying it. Let him keep saying it as much as he wants. Stop reacting to it.
It shouldn't bother you.
It doesn't bother me. Like he's just saying something stupid. They could be like another province of Canada, right? You can say as much as you want, right? If Canadian leaders just kept saying that, the thing is why it's not as funny is because they can't make it happen militarily. Like, but that's
not a reality,
right? But like what I mean, like if on the flip side of it, if you're going to negotiate with them, then show them that you're going to negotiate, right? How you do that is like with these destroyers, with these F-35s, you have to be like, hey, listen, we're going to shop. If it was done tactically, right? And it's like, we're going to shop around. Hey guys, we're going to shop around. Like we are investing in the US, Lockheed Martin, this US defense contract. That was one way that we're investing in the US, right? Do you guys want to continue this? Right, because you're saying $200 billion, you guys are about to lose out on what? This Navy destroyer and these F-35s, like that's like $40 billion right there. Right, he's talking about $200 billion. That's like $40 billion. It's over like 5, 6, 7, 8 years, but still, it's a start. Right, and there's other things that you can do. Or if you're going to, if it is a tactic to bring him to the table and everyone is on the same page, then you do these press releases where you're like, yeah, we're buying from the UK. We're doing this there, and we're doing that there. So he knows, okay, they're trying to move on from the US.
But it seems like every time they, like, for instance, when Doug Ford said the whole electricity thing, like Trump thought it was a joke. So I think like him saying things like that, like we're going to buy from there, he's like, do it.
The prime minister says something is one thing. So even the Carney, we're going to get into him. But even him, right? He has a meeting tabled for Macron in France and Starmer in UK. Nothing on the books for
Trump says he'll get to or something. I don't understand. Why is Doug Ford doing things?
Because
like, are the governors of
nobody
the states coming to us and doing things? No, it's Trump. It should be country to country. It shouldn't be like Ontario to Canada to the US. I don't get it.
They don't get it either.
It works.
It's also the way it's
supposed to.
designed. Provincially, they can do things like they can act on their own a little bit, right?
Okay.
Canada can disincentivize that by doing export taxes, by cutting federal funding on the federal level, right? They can do a lot to make it hard for Ontario to stop him from doing that if they didn't agree, right?
Yeah.
But again, if you guys are all on the same page, then it works, right? Even if you're gonna if they're gonna outsource our military and all of our equipment from now on, they want to build it stronger. We want to do everything with Europe. Then everyone get on the same goddamn page and use that as like the leverage moving forward. Right? One guy's negotiating, the other one's like, I'm not even gonna talk to the U.S. I'm gonna go talk to Europe. But it's like a kid trying to do anything, right? There's like no leader in the family or whatever. That's what it feels like.
Because we don't have one, right? But you got to think of that too. Why does he want us to increase our military spending? Because he knows that money is going to go to the States, right? Lockheed Martin or whatever, a bigger contract with them. It would be more revenue for America.
Theoretically, you also have an ally that would be in your pocket, right? So if you're spending, I think the U.S. spends like $800 billion a year on their military, somewhere around there.
Yeah,
I think if you have another country who's doing that, a couple of these countries who are spending that much money, then you don't have to maybe spend as much because as a collective, you are NATO, right? And it's not just U.S. that's defending the world, right? And then just everybody else who doesn't need to, because if anything happens, they're like, yo. Come fight this war, right? So I think it's like this thing where there's a little bit of jealousy in the sense, or envy, I should say, that countries like Canada get to not spend money on the military and get to spend it on other things.
Yeah,
right.
That's what he doesn't like.
Yeah. Right. Which then, as a Canadian, you're like, okay, if we're not spending any money on military or as much of our GDP on military, right? But the healthcare here still sucks, even if it's free, right? Taxes are sky high.
Yeah, that gets annoying, right?
Yeah, what's really happening?
If we're saving all this money.
You know what the other crazy thing is about tariffs that I didn't really think about? Now I'm going to sound like a conspiracy theorist. But when money comes in, right? How do you know that these guys don't get used to the money that's coming in from the tariffs and they're like, let the economy suffer, right?
Yeah.
I'm not saying this is what's happening, but they get used to it and they don't want to let go of that revenue source. Right, for the country. And they could care less if there's like taxes on certain things, right? It might damage the economy for a bit, the money coming in, because you don't see that the money's coming in from tariffs is getting used to, I don't know, make the economy improve. You're not going to see any of that. There's not going to be a balance sheet of like this much money came in from tariffs. Like this is where they're spending it exactly. There's going to be some sort of federal budget that they'll release showing where it went. But you don't know what the hell happens.
For sure. We don't know what the hell's happening behind closed doors.
Right.
That's with anything though. Like I think I read somewhere that Trudeau spends $1,500 a week on grocery. Where's that money coming from? $1,500 a week? How much grocery do you need?
$1,500 is a lot.
But he's also worth like what, $80-90 million.
No, that's
right. Like his dad was a prime minister. He's had stuff passed.
I imagine he's still worth that much, so he's not using that inheritance money on groceries.
I don't know. These guys got to get their shit together, right? Get on the same page. Can't be doing different things federally and provincially.
I think bottom line, it's leadership, and I think Canada needs an election, and whoever comes into power, then there's a solidified leader.
Yeah.
Right, and that's who the country's behind, and you're either going to be really annoyed to be behind that person, or be really happy, depending on where you fall politically. But it's at least certain that this is a person you're riding with. Right? Sure. There's chaos going on, and these guys just give speeches and just do dumb shit that like is affecting nobody.
He knows that too, though. That's why he's choosing this time.
But yeah, let's move on to our so-called leader. Here's our new Prime Minister of Canada, Mark Carney, and here's a clip of him talking about the carbon tax.
We've already taken a big decision as this cabinet, because this is a cabinet that's focused on action. It's focused on getting more money in the pockets of Canadians. It's focused on building this economy with all the tools that we have here. So based on the discussion we've had, and consistent with the promise that I made and others supported during the leadership campaign, we will be eliminating the Canada fuel charge, the consumer fuel charge, immediately. And we will be ensuring that those Canadians who have received rebates will continue to receive a rebate in the next quarter. The next payment is before the end of April. This will make a difference to hard-pressed Canadians, but it is part of a much bigger set of measures that this government is taking to ensure that we fight against climate change, that our companies are competitive, and the country moves forward. So it's my honor, on behalf of my colleagues, to sign this bill.
He's so proud.
What was that? What the hell was that?
I don't know, man. Did you watch his press conference? It's so boring.
No.
That's insane, though. This guy's prime minister now.
Right?
Nobody voted him in. He just gets to walk into that job. What's up with that?
Political biases aside, right? How do you guys...
Given, right? Not earned.
That was definitely good. Hey, maybe it works. It's got to be in the right places.
But how do you guys feel about somebody who hasn't been voted in for anything? He's not a member of parliament. He's not a member.
The banker.
Nobody voted him to do anything, right?
Yeah.
That person is now leading the country.
Crazy.
It's insane. I don't know how that doesn't trigger an automatic election. That's the way it should be.
It's so unfair. Like, I feel like Canadian politics were already a little confusing for me. But then as you get older, you get more immersed in it. And then like with this podcast, I've obviously been learning more too. And then learning that he just gets to become the prime minister.
Yeah.
Like, I even talked about it with other people. I'm like, yeah, so like, he's going to be the prime minister. And they're like, no, he's not. He just got sworn in as a liberal leader. I'm like, yeah, so now he's prime minister.
Yeah.
So like a far-fetched that doesn't even seem like it should be true, but that's what happened.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
crazy, man.
To your guys' point, like, I feel like there should be, like, Canada should learn from this, and there should be something like a law in place that if a prime minister resigns, it triggers an automatic election. Obviously, if there's some military, like some sort of war going on, sure, right?
Yeah.
You wait till the war's over, right? But in any other circumstance, if a prime minister resigns, election.
Yeah.
Right? Because the person that's taking his spot, that guy hasn't been voted in to be the leader of the country. It doesn't make sense.
It's insane. It's so, like, it's kind of what happened in the States too with Kamala, right?
Yeah.
She just came into power. Well, that thing unfolded.
She wasn't the president.
She was vice president.
Yeah, she was vice president.
But even getting her to like run for president, right?
Yeah.
Similar. It's similar
A
situation.
little bit, but at least she was the vice president.
There was that narrative that they were gonna try to make Joe Biden step down and make her president before she even like finalized that campaign. And people, even about that, the Americans were getting annoyed, right?
Yeah.
Canadians are so like soft, I guess, right?
They're just letting this
They're just like, so that happened.
Yeah, she still campaigned.
Yeah, she still...
You still had to vote for her.
you had to vote for her.
This guy was just like stepped in.
Yeah, he's like, I'm prime minister now.
He's signing things.
Right?
Like, I'm sure a lot of Canadians don't even know who he is. And then one day you just wake up and he's the prime minister.
Especially him, to your point, like, he's been in the shadows. Nobody knows who he is. He's never been a public figure. He's not in the public eye whatsoever. He's never ran for MP anywhere.
Yeah.
He's just, well, obviously because he's a Bank of England governor, Bank Canada governor.
I think that's where most people know him.
That's it. And that's older people.
Yeah.
Like, nobody in their 20s is going to know who this guy is. Right? Now you do, because he's our prime minister. Right?
Yeah.
Right.
When does the government resumes on the 24th, I think, right?
Something like that.
So there's some speculation, maybe even before that, there might be an election.
Even that.
I think this is short-lived.
Yeah.
What?
I'm going to say it on this podcast. Because being prime minister is short-lived.
Well,
hopefully.
Yeah.
Hopefully, right? But
It can't be that easy.
you know what the crazy thing is? Because I thought they weren't going to prorogue government. I thought what Trudeau was going to do after he resigned. In my head, I was like, he's not going to prorogue government. Right? Like, what he'll do is probably just call for an election and we'll just get this thing rolling.
Yeah.
Right? And no, he prorogued the government.
Yeah.
They took that parliamentary break in December. Now it's until March, and that's where it's just
He
going.
was pressured to do that.
I think it was all tactical, which makes me
Seems
say,
very tactical after all this.
so for him to come in the House, he needs to be a member of parliament, right? Theoretically, another MP could step down and he could take that role and become an MP, or somebody could, in a liberal riding where they have power, they could be like, somebody is stepping down that triggers a by-election. This guy wins a by-election. Now he's a member of the House, he's a member of Parliament, and he is also Prime Minister. And then they can push this thing to October.
Straight to October, yeah. That
is something that people aren't thinking about. He's saying he's going to call an election, so they're aware of all of these things. But if they did that, Canadians should be furious.
Exactly. That wouldn't be received well. I would hope.
Yeah.
If that's shady as can be. That's crazy. Mm-hmm. You're just coming in through the back door. You're like, oh, I'm Prime Minister till October now.
Another thing in this whole video, like when I was watching it right now, the way that he was like looking around and staring at the camera, and he's like, so on behalf of and the way he was signing, I'm like, I'm not saying I love politicians or something, but I'm saying the inexperience as a politician, it shows on his face.
For sure.
The guy's never been one.
And he's bored.
Do they clap every time they sign something? Like this guy gave him like a pat on the back.
Yeah, he's like, clap. And on behalf of my colleagues.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Why is it on behalf of your colleagues? You're signing it.
And even that carbon tax, isn't it something that he advised Trudeau to do in the first place?
Yeah.
Right? And he's basically taking it back because Poilievre's been saying carbon tax election.
That's what it was. He got ahead of it. Yeah. He's like, oh, I'm not carbon tax, Carney. Look at this.
Yeah, and theoretically, it's not like they created a law, because then the Parliament would have to resume for them to create a law. This is just him saying it's now zero.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Poilievre had his own reaction to the new Prime Minister of Canada, and here's a clip of him talking about it.
Canadians into electing them for a fourth term in power, with a cabinet that is 87% the same as Trudeau's cabinet. 100% of today's Liberal cabinet were in Justin Trudeau's Liberal caucus. These same Liberal MPs voted to hike the carbon tax, double the debt, double food bank lineups, and double housing costs. The same Liberals all supported blocking pipelines, LNG plants, and passing the anti-energy law C-69 that has made Canada even more reliant on the U.S. Carbon tax Carney will try later today to pull another fast one. This one's going to be very sneaky.
Oh my God, he's smiling.
Very sneaky. I call it the carbon tax con job. I told you this was going to happen, by the way. Don't say I didn't warn you. He's going to hide the consumer carbon tax for 60 days. And if he's reelected, he'll bring it back bigger than ever with no rebate. Let's be clear. He says that the carbon tax he intends to bring in after the election will be a, quote, shadow carbon tax. And we know that he loves carbon taxes because he publicly advised Trudeau over the last 5 years to raise the taxes even more. But here's what I've got. This is the Liberal carbon tax law. This law cannot be eliminated unless Parliament resumes to vote it down. Mr. Carney could have asked Trudeau to do that months ago. Mr. Carney could have reconvened Parliament today to vote this law down, but he won't. He will keep the carbon tax law in place, even while he temporarily hides the carbon tax from the gas pump for 60 days leading up to the election. And after that election, if God forbid he were reelected, there would be a bigger carbon tax than ever before, because Carney would no longer need your vote, but he'd still need your money.
God forbid he gets reelected. This guy's savage.
That's true.
Yeah, is that true? Is he going to do that?
What? What he's saying with the carbon tax?
In theory, he can.
In theory, he can. And if you see his words on everything, he keeps saying that it's the consumer carbon tax, right? And his plan is to then implement some sort of carbon tax on businesses, or a corporate one.
Yeah.
And we all know how that works, right? If something gets more expensive for a business, it's also going to get more expensive for the consumer, right? So it's just it's like hiding it in a different way. So if he doesn't do what Poilievre is saying, right, it's not like he can't do that. And if what Poilievre is saying, even if, let's just, in this hypothetical world, this guy does get elected, right? Carney does, right?
Yeah.
If that happens, Just like how the liberals did this capital gains tax, right? And everyone was like, whoa, right? And Trudeau dropped a video. He's like, this is just for the rich people. Right?
Yeah.
Anyone who's selling a property more than $1 million or has a capital gain of more than $1 million, you would get charged 66% on that extra. So
like us, the ultra rich people.
That's not us. That's anybody who is basically. What if somebody worked their entire life to buy a house, and then they built some sort of rental property, and that was their retirement plan, right? And then their goals change a little bit. Maybe they don't need cash flow, and they're like, I'm just gonna sell that house. Normally, a person would just refi, rent it out, take the money, use it. But what if they're not financially savvy like that, right? And they're just doing that. Those people aren't rich people.
Yeah, according to this government,
those are like our parents, right?
Yeah.
Those are people who work their entire life to pay off 1 or 2 houses, and that's their retirement plan. You're going to tax the shit out of them. So that same government can do this thing too. I wouldn't put it past them. It might not be in 60 days. It could be in 2 years. But whenever they hit some economic problem, guys, we're going to have the carbon tax going up 20%. They're going to do dumb shit whenever that.
For sure. Like, I think that election would be coming sooner than later, because if they wait this thing out, I think they know they have to ride this momentum, this wave, the likability that's coming behind them and the polls or whatever. But I just think Canadians shouldn't really be falling for these tricks and this polling that's going on, right? Did you see the picture of him at the steel workers place?
No.
So there's a picture. Yeah. It's like the same one Polyev went.
Oh, wow.
So if you look at the one that Polyev, those are actual workers that wanted to come in the picture, right?
So this is the same plant in both pictures?
I believe it's the same one, yeah.
Okay.
And then if you look at Carney there, first he was getting grilled for the way they wore their hats. They wore them, I guess, the wrong way. But behind him is Anita Anand.
Yeah.
And other MPs and CBC like workers and stuff. Yeah. So they couldn't get any actual workers that wanted to come and stand behind this guy. Right. They had to act like they were working there, right? So that shows you where the Canadians are generally, right? Or workers, right?
Yeah.
You call their people, who they're supporting, who they're backing, right? He has a lot bigger crowd behind that other picture.
I think the other thing that, like what I was saying before about like October's elections, I don't think that's really going to happen because like you're saying, they are doing this thing where they're trying to ride the momentum, right? Yeah. And I've said it before. I don't know how you guys feel about the media presence that Polyev gets.
Yeah.
It's certainly not nowhere as close to what the Liberals get.
No.
For sure.
It's not there. Online, it's not there. On TVs, it's not there. On local news, I don't see it. Everyone's just always talking about what some sort of Liberal government somewhere is doing. And they've been riding Mark Carney as if he's some sort of, this savior. New face to like all of this, right? When in reality, it seems like 80% of this guy's cabinet is the same one that Trudeau had. Yeah. Like he rearranged a couple of faces.
He just shuffled it.
Yeah. And on top of it all, I think if this thing lasted till October and you saw him be prime minister through this trade war, if you saw all of that, these guys have to know this guy's a rookie. It doesn't matter if he's been Bank of Canada governor. He doesn't know how to negotiate with like world leaders.
And he has no relationships with any of them, right?
With none of them.
Other than maybe England, because he was...
Yeah, so... Even that, right? Like when I heard that he doesn't have a meeting with Trump.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Right? But
how could you not?
That should have been the first meeting.
The first thing you do is try to get Trump on the phone and be like, I'm the new PM or whatever, right? Yeah. But in your head, you know, you didn't get elected here. You have to do this election. Nobody's going to respect you. Right?
Anyone will... The brain. Right?
Yeah, and I feel like they're just gonna do this, and they're gonna trigger it as close to, now I'm thinking they might even trigger it close to right when Parliament resumes, because they want to do it while the momentum is hot, like you're saying, and not
you gotta ride this if you're them.
The second Polyev gets into the House, he's getting that press coverage right back. Yeah. You're going to see all those clips of him owning these guys in the House with his jokes and his slogans or whatever you want to call them.
Yeah.
But he owns these guys.
Yeah.
And I think if you ever saw him in a public debate, it would be must-see TV for Canadians.
For sure.
I feel like they're robbing us of one of the best debates we would see, like in Canadian politics, in a long time.
That debate would be hilarious.
Yeah.
But I feel like even with his cabinet, he just reshuffled it. And even Jagmeet was getting on him about it. He's like, it's not representative of Canada. Chrystia Freeland's still in that cabinet.
She's just not the finance minister, right?
Just changed titles. I think only 2 people that were in Trudeau stepped down. It's the same government. So if you were bothered over the last 2 terms or 3 terms or past couple of years, how the hell can you expect a different result from the same exact cabinet?
It's the same MPs too.
Same MPs, everything.
The same people that voted for the same laws, that
part
did
of
the
it,
same things. Yeah, and he's been advising all of them the whole time. And now people are like, there's something new. He's getting rid of the carbon tax. It's the same thing.
It's because the media here too, even on TV, it's so left biased. It's insane.
And it sounds like that's like a pushing point from like the States, but it's way more true here.
Yeah.
The right, like Polyev gets zero coverage. Like I don't see nowhere anywhere.
Yeah.
Like even what we were talking about last week, like what PBD said, that he should get in front of cameras and do, like more interviews and stuff. Like that would probably help him a lot because he isn't getting coverage here. But like even that clip of him saying they're going to bring back the carbon tax, like I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure a lot of Canadians don't know that.
Yeah.
They do get tricked by this new face that they have with the Liberal Party.
Yeah,
And then he's going to end up in power again.
Yeah.
I think you're right, because like if when you have something like a YouTube channel or your own media, you're just talking to your own base, right? And those people already know what you think.
Yeah.
Right? So then if you are looking at like media, like public media, like when it comes to news channels and stuff, if they're not pushing your stuff, you're not going to reach your information to people that you are going to change their vote whatsoever.
Yeah.
So then what do you do?
I mean, like, look, what PBD said, like, he was a little bit, like, he's, like, shitting on Canada, so I didn't like that part of it a little bit. I feel like we were a little too nice to him last podcast.
Yeah.
It is a little annoying shitting on Canada that much, like, relax, right?
Yeah.
Like, why was he so passionate about it?
I think a lot of that has to do with he was annoyed that, like, how Indy was saying that this guy didn't go on his podcast. It would have done numbers,
He's
and he
annoyed.
wanted that, and he's annoyed. Right. If you get in the habit of sitting with past future presidents, right, you're like,
who's this guy? Why is he not coming?
Why is he not coming? You're in the habit of being in a room with world leaders, right? But that to the side, to what Simmer's saying, I wish there was a podcast. Like, even though we just started this thing, like, I wish there was something big enough where people like that could go on right now, right? Like,
without a bias.
it doesn't exist here. So there's no option. There's nothing. I think realistically, this guy's best option is, as soon as this thing starts, do whatever you can to get on Rogan.
Yeah. I think he might.
Yeah, I think he might too. I think that would be a great conversation. I think he would also, I think Rogan likes this guy.
Yeah. He said it. Even Carney, he was kind of shitting on him too. He's like, they got somebody else. It's the same thing though.
Yeah, I mean, why is it so easy for Americans to be like, this
They
is
just
the
see
same,
it.
and they get so
It's right
angry
in
and
front of
stuff,
their face.
and Canadians just go, this is different.
Yeah, this is different.
Maybe this guy.
That's true.
Yeah,
Yeah, why is that?
85% of his cabinet's the exact same people.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Okay, and that's enough about politics, I guess. Let's move on to this growing animosity towards immigrants on the rise in Canada. And before we talk about it, here's a clip of Punjabi music producer Ikky talking about the negativity he received after performing with KaranAujla at last year's Juno Awards.
I would like for Canadians to kind of open their mind a little more.
Tell me.
I'm sure that more of your listeners are non-Punjabi than they are.
That's right.
And I think when we did the Junos, a lot of people were upset about it.
Is that so?
Yeah.
Did you experience that?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, just people were like, if this is Canada, I don't want to be a part of it. And I was like, I'm born here, though. Like specifically, it was this headline that said the future of Canada. And not specifically, it was just Punjabi music. It was a lot of Juno stuff happening on that headline. But the front cover was Karn. And just... like, I kid you not, like 1,000 comments with the same kind of narrative. And I was like, that's kind of disappointing, though. Like, I'm born here. This is my culture. I am influential to Canadian culture as much as Canadian culture has influence.
Yeah, so this guy's making a lot of sense. It's really true what he's saying. I think they said in the same podcast, they're introducing a new category for South Asian music. And they're gonna,
at the Juno Awards?
Yeah, they're going to be awarding it at the Junos.
Yeah.
So AP performed the year before these guys. Then it was KaranAujla. And now this year's Inderpal Moga and Johnny Nata.
Yeah.
They're performing there. So this trend's likely to continue.
Yeah.
It's been happening for the past couple of years. Punjabi music is getting popularized in general a lot, right? And even this guy, the podcaster, he quoted the Ryan Tedder, the one they made the song with recently.
Yeah.
One Republic, yeah. He's like, and this guy said that. He's like, anyone not paying attention to South Asian music is asleep at the wheel.
Yeah.
So they're realizing how global it is and how much the reach is, right?
I mean, for music, I feel like it's huge. The thing that you're saying, this One Republic track with KaranAujla, I thought that was a fire track. Not in the sense, like the music was good, but like also culturally speaking, for Punjabi music, it's big, right? Because what ends up happening here is that because the recent immigration laws and the way that everything happened and how many immigrants came here so quickly, and because they're not assimilating, when you then look at Punjabi music headlining at, like, not headlining, they were one of the performers or the headliners?
They performed.
Okay, so like even if you're at the Juno Awards and like Punjabi people know you're going to perform there, you might get a Punjabi crowd somewhat. Right? So you might be falsely thinking that like, hey, listen, maybe all these people enjoy Punjabi music, right? When in reality, when people consume the Juno Awards, like I've never watched them a day in my life. Like I don't know who watches these things, right? I don't know. But I would imagine like it's not a massive Punjabi audience, right? Unless there's Punjabi music being covered or awarded, right? So then with that category, it definitely would help. But I think having Punjabi music, when you include English artists in it, it is going to be more digestible to the average crowd and not just Punjabi people, right? And then the rest of it, I feel like the comments and stuff that he's saying, that negativity is going to come with it regardless. Right? Because people aren't going to like something like that because they think that you're changing Canadian culture. Right? When in reality, I feel like as long as like, because, okay, if I go to a country concert, right? And a rapper comes on stage, it's like, I wasn't expecting that. Why is this? That's not, that's what they're.
Well, that people had problems with stuff like that. Like when Beyonce made a country album, Post Malone made a country album, people had problems with her winning awards for it. So it's kind of like it happens in all cultures.
But it's part of it, right? You have to shift the culture. You got to break barriers to get through. Even what you're saying, like making songs with other English artists, like that's kind of how Spanish did it, right? And then they started blowing up, and now I hear Spanish on the radio all the time. I don't know what they're saying. If that's your only argument, like, I don't know what they're saying in the music. People don't know what the hell they're saying in Spanish music either. Right?
But it starts off with like a Spanish song and then somebody like Bieber jumped on, like Despacito, right? Or like there's a whole bunch of them, right? Where somebody jumps on it and there's a little bit of English verses in there and then it works, right? In Punjabi music, like what have been the big ones in that sense? There's been Mordato Bachke. Right? And then there's been
everyone knows that.
Then there's been Daljit had one with Sweetie.
And then, so it's starting to happen.
There's like a few there, right? But the more you do that, the more
bigger names.
And I feel like this guy's a producer, right? So he probably knows better than us. But like the beats are more westernized now, versus what they were even 3 years ago, right? So like I'm not like a Punjabi music savant by any means, but the music itself seems more like it is driving music, more like relating music, more like stuff that the same way you would listen to rap or hip hop. When I grew up, Punjabi music was hall party music. Like that's how you judge Punjabi music.
Just like straight souls.
It was like if there's something that you can dance to at a hall party, that's good Punjabi music. Otherwise, it's nobody's listening to it, right? But that's the evolution of it now. For sure. The way that the beats are westernized, right?
I think it's done intentionally too, right? It's more digestible. You can drive to it. Anyone can type of listen to it.
I mean, the evolution of it from like the Gosman days to like Jazzy B, right? To like you're gonna fast forward to Lambert, to Miss Pooja, to then eventually getting to like Sidhu Moosewala, right? And then from that, I feel like he just opened up this huge door to where everyone was jumping on these Western beats, right? And once that started happening, then you had all these guys, and I'm not even familiar with half of them now, right? Like because the songs are so streamed, I hear them. So when I hear them, I'm like, oh, I know that song. I don't know some of these singers anymore, right? Like there's a lot of them out there. right? When I was growing up, it wasn't like that.
For sure. That's a great thing. I think
When I was like, when we were growing up, if you liked a song that had like English in it, you were kind of like being hated on.
Yeah.
Like I didn't love Punjabi music growing up, but like anything that had a hip hop beat to it, I was down. So Monday at the Butch was good for me. But I feel like people that really liked Punjabi music like hated on me for that.
Yeah.
So you got the opposite of it?
Yeah, yes. But now so now everybody's like about it.
Yeah.
So I'm on board.
Yeah. But I feel like I don't want to make this completely political. I said the immigration thing before, but I think a part of the negativity towards immigrants is in that, right? Like it's not like when a large sum of immigrants came to Canada in the last 4 or 5 years, it wasn't even like this like 5-6 years ago, right? And then you just see so many clips of them dancing around downtown, right? Around the speaker, or like whatever. And it's like 50, 60, 70 of them. It's like they're crazy.
Yeah.
Right. And then you'll see things about like how some of them live. And I'm not saying this is all of them.
Yeah.
Right. But a lot of them act this way. And those are going to get publicized like crazy. I even sometimes see the same clip just resurface 3 months after. Right?
Everything's online now. Everything is like recorded.
Yeah. And then I don't know, the way that people are, I feel like a lot of them when they come here, they have zero self-awareness. Right. And they just think like they're the main character in the story, period. Right. And like, don't move out of anyone's way. This is the way we're going to drive. We don't care. And like, you get fed up with it. And I feel like a lot of even people who have immigrated here, second generation, third generation, right? Even them, they look at it and like, what are you guys doing?
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. And that's in our community that they feel that way.
Yeah.
Right. That's not saying that everyone that immigrates here is bad.
Yeah.
But if you pair that, right, with a time where now Canada's going through these tariffs, right? Even before this, you had high inflation, right? So somebody needs to blame somebody, and it's easy to vilify this, right? And just be like, this isn't the Canada I love or whatever, right? When the guy himself is born and raised here.
Exactly.
Right? But
much change for people.
Yeah, but then again, like there is the devil's advocate of it is you're at the Juno Awards, right? Like they want, if you're catering to an entire crowd, right? Like why not try to somehow acclimate some sort of English into your performance in some way, shape or another, right? So I feel like the more they acclimate themselves within Western music, it's going to grow that way.
Definitely,
right?
It'll be a good thing. And I feel like when you're saying they need somebody to blame, I think you have this liberal government that you can blame.
I was trying not to go there. I was like, we just finished talking about the liberals for 45 minutes.
But it's this influx of immigrants, right? And I don't think it should be lost that like Punjabi people specifically are one of the cornerstones of Canada. In Ontario and BC, you're talking about? BC, we're probably like 5th or 6th generation by now. So that's years of being here. You're as Canadian as they come. We grew up playing hockey. Just to lump us in with somebody who's come here like 2 or 3 years ago, that's completely not fair, right? We've been here for so long. So many tax dollars have been paid.
But I feel like there's like two sides of it. Like even what he said, like, there probably is a certain group of people that hate on it, but it's also more widely accepted by Canadians. Like even with the fact that they have this South Asian category now at the Junos, that they have performances by Punjabi artists, like we're more culturally acceptable in this country. So it's like, even though there's some negativity, there's also a lot of positivity. The fact that you can even get this negativity is because you're there, and you're there because people put you there.
Yeah,
for sure.
There's also, I feel like the flip side of it, which is like, if you're like a Punjabi Canadian, right? Like, do you go out of your way to consume other forms of like Canadian songs or media or whatever, right? Like, probably not.
Yeah.
Right. So, but you're asking somebody else to?
Yeah.
Like if we're playing devil's advocate.
Until it smacks you in the face, like Spanish music, I can't avoid it.
Yeah.
It's everywhere.
Yeah.
So maybe this will get to that stage, right?
Like not everyone has to like everything.
You don't
That's
have
not
to.
what I'm saying. You don't have to like Punjabi music, right?
Yeah.
If it's not your cup of tea, that's fine.
Yeah.
Right. And you could, choose whatever music that you like. Right?
Yeah.
But I think if they do have the South Asian, section at the Juno Awards, then you're like, okay, there's a part of the community that, they make this kind of music. It's obviously global, right?
Yeah.
And if we're going to talk about money, people see.
Yeah,
like
these
where
artists
this
are
is
starting
going.
to
They're
see
starting to
how many
see
people are.
Punjabi music artists sell out arenas.
Yeah.
Right. And India is what's the population in India? Like it's massive, right? A couple billion, right?
Yeah.
So you're tapping into a market that's untapped right now. So those Spotify streams that these guys want so bad, they're gonna skyrocket if they start to do the right deal. I'm surprised Drake hasn't jumped on a track yet.
Yeah,
probably will.
Maybe soon.
Right? I feel like you see one of those pretty soon, right?
You want to win over your Toronto base, you'll get it right back.
Yeah, and I think it would definitely help though if we're gonna look on the other side of it and kind of play devil's advocate and play both sides, is if they slow down immigration, right? Like when our parents came here, right? Like my dad came here when he was 14, right? Like our dad, right? And at that time, it's not like you don't ever face racism and it's not like you don't go through certain struggles, right? But there wasn't like 40 people dancing in Dundas Square.
Yeah.
Right? You never saw
that.
Right? It was this
And then
That's what you said.
I feel like you
rubbing off.
you slow that down a bit, right? And I feel like whatever, man. I'm done with my point. I feel like that's it for the stories. Let's move on to our topic.
Okay, so our first story is about a student going missing in the Dominican Republic.
So have you guys heard about this? So it's a girl named Sudiksha Konaki. She's only 20 years old. She went to the Dominican Republic from the U.S. She was studying at Pittsburgh University, and then she went missing in the DR. And then there's been like a worldwide police notice issued for her. So the story is that basically she went to the beach with a group of friends at like 5 a.m. And there's a video of her leaving the hotel with these friends. But then the video shows like the friends returning about an hour later. And then she's also with this guy in the video that she met at the resort. And he's another U.S. Guy from the U.S. He's 24. His name is Joshua Ribe. So if you watch the video, this is them like walking out and he's with her. But then when you see them like returning, she's not there. And then he returns like later, early in the morning without her. And then she's gone missing, and she's missing for like 12 hours before her friends report her as missing. And then like authorities there have said, oh, like she probably just drowned.
I came back in the morning.
Yeah, he came back like hours later by himself. And then her parents like flew to the DR because they want them to like vamp up the search. Because they don't believe that she drowned. They think that she might have gotten kidnapped or abducted for trafficking or something like that. And then that guy that was the last person to see her, they've been like questioning him and to find out his accounts of the story. And he's basically like, they were in the ocean and then a big wave came and he like brought her back to shore, but then he started vomiting. So then he didn't see where she went. And then when he looked again, she was gone, and he just passed out on the beach. And then he went back to his hotel room a few hours later and he had no idea where she was. And then now he's still in DR. Like they detained him in his room and he's on 24/7 police surveillance. And they're still looking for the girl. She's been missing since
They
March
found her
6th.
clothes, I think, right?
Yeah, they found like like near the beach.
That's strange.
So I feel like there's no other facts that they've said yet, right? Like this guy hasn't said anything else yet to this point.
The only thing I heard, I heard her parents were saying that the body would have shown up on shore by now.
Yeah, if she drowned.
If she had drowned, it would have came up on shore.
So I heard like where she was staying, a few other drownings have happened like that. So to your point, their bodies all came up on
shore. So.
But I so back when I was in high school, I remember this girl from my high school drowned in the Dominican because of the current.
Okay.
So I think there's a current that pulls you.
There is an undercurrent. I've been to the Dominican and other parts of the Caribbean.
And they're rough, like sea.
Pretty, pretty bad.
And like if you ever go to the beach at nighttime, they usually at most of these
they
resorts,
tell you not, right?
they'll have guards that even come out and they'll be like, hey, like go back. Like, what are you guys doing? Right.
Yeah.
So this also why everybody went on the beach at like 5 a.m. is because something happened in their hotel where like the power went out. So they were forced to evacuate.
Oh,
so they all left.
Walk to the beach.
Well, that's what I heard. I don't know.
They're probably drunk. Right?
But so they're saying like there was a power outage.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone had to leave for that reason. Like to what you're saying, I think they didn't let them go into the ocean.
But I've seen the ocean there, and I feel like it's at nighttime it can get rough.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not. I wouldn't completely.
If she intoxicated.
Yeah, I wouldn't completely rule it out that she could have got pulled into the ocean.
Yeah.
Right?
Possibly, but where's the body then? Right.
I don't know.
And the clothes, like.
That's weird. Her clothes being there.
Yeah.
Well, what if they were like skinny dipping?
Yeah. I don't know. Garbage friends though. Like what the hell?
Yeah.
What kind of friends do you have? They just let you go off with this guy?
Yeah, she's only 20, and they didn't even report it missing until 12 hours later.
Yeah, and the guy he slept on the beach. I'm assuming because he just woke up
out on the beach because she was saying.
Yeah, that's what
he
he
said.
said. That was his.
And he's walking back in the morning, so he probably didn't even know any of that happened.
He probably blacked out, man.
Yeah.
He's that drunk. He doesn't know what the hell happened.
I think
or
it's just
unless he's a part of it. Like you don't know, right? Because it's also Dominican's not exactly the safest country in the world.
Right.
For sure.
Right, like the resorts and stuff are typically safe.
Yeah.
Right, but at that point, at that time of night, at 5 a.m. Sorry, it's early morning. Right?
And on the beach, like that's not part of their like
resort property. Yeah, like people
property,
can get around and like walk up and down the beach. And
it's just weird. The weird part is the body not showing up.
Yeah,
and then you got to feel for her parents. They're probably just
I
they
saw
flew
video
out
of them
there.
like sobbing.
Yeah, no. Anyone that has a child.
And also like the videos that are surfacing of her now is like of her twerking, of her like being really drunk, like at the clubs. Like parents don't want to see that shit. Like they're like they've just lost their like daughter now. Like, but I've seen so many of her.
So that's the narrative being pushed that she's a party girl or something.
I think so.
I mean, I think you got to leave those because I get. When kids go on these college trips and stuff like that, what are they doing? They all do the same shit.
You don't expect it to be like publicized. After you died, especially.
I mean, nobody expects any of this kind of stuff to ever happen, right?
Sure.
Parents usually warn their kids of things like this, but they don't ever listen.
Yeah.
Right. And like things happen.
For sure.
But yeah, I mean, I saw a couple of those videos. Like that's like any college kid, right? Like I wouldn't say that that's just her.
No, but I'm just saying, that's what he was saying. Like they're painting that narrative a little bit.
That's unfortunate. I don't know. It sucks.
Yeah.
Okay, so our next story is about the new SnowWhite movie.
Okay.
Yeah, so the original SnowWhite cartoon came out in the 30s, and then now they're doing a live action movie, like adaptation, that's coming out this month. But there's been a few controversies surrounding this movie. So for one, the girl that's playing SnowWhite is actually Colombian. And so there was like a lot of racist backlash against that. And then like
that didn't hit till right now. Nobody got my joke. This is cricket.
And then she also like has called out a lot of like sexist parts of the story, saying that there's a big focus on like the main character falling in love with the man that stalks her. The main SnowWhite actress is saying this about the story, and then so she got backlash for that she doesn't even like it and she's playing the character. But I feel like everything she said was just valid, right?
Yeah.
And then another controversy was that they didn't use real people for the role of the dwarfs. They just used like CGI, so they're just fake. And then there was like two sides to this. Like one, is it even? It's politically incorrect to have like seven dwarfs living in a cave or something like that. And then there's the other side of it, like, you use CGI, so now the people that could have played, like all the little people that could have played the roles, they're taking these roles away from these people.
Okay, so which one is it?
People just always have to hate on something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I heard she was
It's
trying to make
fairy
it more
tale.
like woke. Like as like she was saying like she didn't want to focus on her falling in love with some guy.
Yeah.
She wanted to bring this more woke.
Yeah.
That's stupid too.
Yeah,
You're changing the story.
Yeah.
That's complete.
That's the thing
BS.
I don't get. Like, why even do it then? Why remake the movie if you hate everything about
Right?
it?
You're the main
Just make a
character.
different movie.
She got the backlash for that.
Because she wanted
she's
it
the one
to be.
that like went public with it, and she
Yeah.
just makes say interviews
While she was like filming it, there was a lot.
I
she was
think I
hating.
saw something while it was
Yeah.
happening.
Yeah.
But the story is pretty much on par with how the original was.
I think so. Yeah,
Like it's the same thing. It's not. Like
I haven't watched it.
it hasn't
obviously.
come out
It
yet.
didn't come out.
But yeah, because if you're gonna remake these Disney classics, right, and they're like people are gonna overreact and start to bring DEI and all this BS into
Yeah.
it, right? If you're gonna remake those classics, then I feel like you shouldn't change up the story.
Just stick to the story.
Right, like obviously you could be like people can shit on the story a little bit too. It is a little weird that there's like a
Definitely.
sleeping girl and some guy comes.
It was
and
weird.
says-
And the dwarf.
Yeah.
It's always been weird.
It's always a little weird.
Yeah, then,
right?
like
it's-
don't do it then.
yeah, either don't do it. If you're gonna do it, then just it's fine the way it was, right? And if you're Disney, if she's coming out and saying that she wanted to change everything, and you've already written the script and you're already filming the script as well into production, wouldn't you be like, "What the hell are you doing?
Yeah.
What are you doing?"
Get on her.
Right? Like, wouldn't she be let go of this role?
There
would
was
think.
something happening with it. Like I know she doesn't get along with Gal Gadot, how to say her name? Like the other.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
you know, in the movie is SnowWhite, then there's the evil queen. So even there's some controversy between those two actresses.
Oh, she should
'Cause,
be the nice
evil
queen, right?
is like
That's what they're saying.
it's kind of political. Like she's pro-Israel, and then the
Oh, no.
Snow White is
that's-
pro-Palestine. So there's a little bit of clash.
People are so weird, man. What the hell? Why does this have to turn? Why does this have to turn
Disney
Israel
movie, right?
Palestine?
And they had some backlash with the mermaid, right? She was black.
Yeah, I feel like it
Yeah.
happens with every Disney
Just
live action.
Every remake.
Yeah.
You know why though? Disney does try to become very DEI.
Yeah.
Right? They do try to do
Clearly,
that, to
yeah.
try to include
On
everybody
purpose.
and be inclusive, right? And certain things, they're fine if the person's a white person. I don't think people have a problem with it, right? Like, imagine if there was a movie with like Punjabi people and the saying that they tried to make him like, I don't know, black or white or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, it's just not going to register the same way
Yeah.
if you watched it going
sure.
up in a different way.
Yeah.
Right. And I feel like same thing when it comes to Disney, they're going to get backlash because obviously on the right side of things, politically speaking, a lot of people don't like the message that Disney pushed anyway.
Yeah.
Right. With a lot of like even the Pixar films and everything, they think that they're injecting a lot of woke ideology into
Yeah.
it. So people are off put by it and they
The
kind of
newer
back
ones,
off.
right?
Yeah. The newer
Yeah.
ones. Right.
They are.
And some of them do.
Yeah.
Right. But then again, I don't think like you can't just be one-sided and just be like never Disney, screw Disney. We went to Disney World with our kid, she loved it.
Yeah.
We
Right?
loved it.
We loved it. I don't think there's anything
Disney
wrong
was
with
cool.
Disney, right?
Yeah.
And even Disney movies, we just watched Mufasa. I think you guys saw it.
Yeah.
Dope movie.
Yeah.
I liked it,
Yeah.
right? So I'm not going to be like, just because some DEI woke crap going on in certain movies and certain production of certain movies, you just write off the whole company.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nah, I think like whenever you have such a hard stance on something on each side, and you're like, I'm not even gonna pretend to think things can change a little bit. No, Disney. I think it's ridiculous. Also, if you're just like everything Disney does is correct,
Yeah.
right? They can never do any wrong, and all of it is right. I love it, and I love the Palestine, Israel, all of it that they're including, and she should be Colombian. That's a little extra too, right? Like
That's the problem just with picking one side. Just call out bullshit when you see it, man. It's not that complicated.
Call a spade
And
a
it's a
spade.
fairy tale. Just let it be told the way it was.
I mean, like we said, it's a weird story to begin with, right? Like,
It is. It's one of the weirder ones.
Yeah.
I think
very,
they did
very
change it a little though. The way that she was talking about it, she like mentioned we're not doing that this time, so maybe it's different. But I guess we won't know until.
I don't even remember the full story. What is it that she
Falls
gets?
asleep.
She eats an apple. She knocks out.
Yeah.
Right, and then the
Princess
prince,
to like kiss her to
and then she gets all better. Right,
Yeah.
that's the whole.
And then she
story.
lives with all these dwarves
Yeah.
for some reason. I don't
Yeah,
know.
and then they go and fight the witch. Is that
I
what?
think so. I don't know. We probably butchered. I'll watch the new one.
Yeah.
That'll be my
It's
new
a
one.
musical, by the way.
Oh no, I don't know.
And then they ruin everything with these musicals.
But I like it.
Yeah. So we're gonna be watching that.
Okay, so our next story is about those 2 track athletes. I don't know if you guys heard about it.
No.
At high school in Virginia.
Okay.
So this was just a race. We can watch the video first.
Oh, what the hell?
Yeah. So this happened, and then she obviously got hurt.
Yeah.
So she is facing assault charges.
Yeah. Looks
Okay.
like.
Okay, I've seen this clip so many times.
Is there
from
different
so
angles
many
of it?
different angles,
Okay.
Yeah.
right? I don't have all of them.
Okay.
But what she's saying is like, so I'm not a runner. I
Yeah.
don't know how momentum works when you're
Yeah,
running
yeah,
like
yeah.
that. But she's holding a baton. She's saying that it got caught behind her because they're kind of like really close to each other running. So it
Okay.
got caught on her back. So when she tried to like, okay, I'm going to show you it again. Watch
Okay.
her hand after she hit her and watch how she does the same motion over and over again.
Okay.
So she hit her, but look at her hand. It keeps doing that.
Yeah,
So she's saying she didn't mean to hit her. She's saying that was just part of.
Oh, she's pulling it back actually
and
after she hit her
when
once?
she tried to, okay. So what it was is, her arm got caught, her elbow, and when it twisted, she lost the balance, and then she started pumping her other arm to regain the balance, and that's what caused that arm to hit her.
And she just happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time.
She's saying I would never hurt her. The runner that got hurt doesn't believe it.
I don't think I believe it.
So yeah, looking at it firsthand, I was like, she hit her. She was trying to beat her, and then she hit her. But then, like when people are analyzing it, they're like slow mowing the video.
Yeah, play it again.
Yeah. It looks intentional.
It looks super
Yeah.
intentional.
Why
She's
didn't play
looking
it
at her.
Yeah, she's looking at her. When she does it.
It's like an impulsive thought just took
Yeah,
over.
and then she's like, oh, that was dumb.
That's what it looks like.
Yeah. But there's a lot of people. She's getting like her family's receiving death threats. The girl that hit her. But then
That sucks.
there's this whole support of people that are saying she didn't do it. It's just
Yeah,
going
because
back
what
and
would
forth.
be the reason for her to do that on
losing.
purpose?
She's
Losing
she
sucks.
passed her quickly, so maybe she didn't want her to win.
Oh my god!
But even then, like she should have known that wasn't going to help.
yeah,
you win.
yeah.
Yeah, it could be impulsive. I don't know.
I don't know. I thought firstly like she did it on purpose. Then when I saw the other like analyzing videos, I'm like, oh, maybe she was just trying, because it looked like her arm was twisted. So she like when she swung it back, it just really wouldn't get out of the twist.
The only thing throwing me off is the eye contact.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's
Not the eye
looking
contact. Sorry, where she's looking when she
straight
does
at
it.
her.
She looks
She's
at
a
her and then
target.
she does it.
Isn't she looking straight?
No,
No,
she
it
looks
doesn't.
at her.
Look, she's losing balance a little too. Like
After you smack her,
yeah.
I don't know. I would have to see a whole bunch of angles. It is tough to tell.
I saw a clip of her like crying about it.
Yeah. She's like doing almost, it looked like a press conference.
I felt like that was disingenuous. That made me think that she hit her.
Yeah.
Really?
I didn't even see this. I saw her crying. Then I saw this. I'm like, oh yeah, she did hit her.
Yeah.
You saw the girl that hit her.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's going on. Whatever. I would never do that. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
And it was really fake. Is that what you think?
It was tears. It looked like she was crying. But you think it looked like she was acting?
I think so. That's how I interpreted it.
From that clip only, it looks like she hit her.
I think she hit her.
Yeah. I thought so too.
But
anyways,
another clip could say
we could just move on. So there's this viral strawberry.
Strawberry.
It's at Erewhon. It's like this grocery store in California. It's like a luxury grocery store.
Yeah.
It's like all organic. So this one strawberry is $20.
Oh my god.
$20. People are going crazy for it, like trying to, like, celebrities are buying it to try it. So when I saw the price, I'm like, if everybody was so crazy about $20, I would probably buy it too, to try it. But people are saying it's not even like, there's like, some people are like, I bought $2 strawberries that tasted the same.
So what's the story behind it? Why is it $20?
It's that Erewhon, so it's like a kind of like a Whole Foods, like a really like healthy.
It's luxurious. Like they have this like Hailey Bieber smoothie that people like love to get.
I heard they have like $40 like wraps
Grapes.
and stuff. Grapes?
Yeah, they have like
That's what I was gonna ask. Do they have like a $20 blueberry or something?
everything
lots
there
of
is
luxury fruit.
yeah.
And do they know why it makes it? Is it just
So
a block?
it's just how it's farmed. So a lot of the
Okay.
fruit is from Japan.
It's from
Yeah.
Japan.
So it's just like the environment that it's farmed, the way it's picked. I saw one video of a guy who went and bought one, and he's like, it's bruised.
Oh my god.
Oh,
Does it come in that nice little?
Yeah, it
These
comes in a
reviews, like
case.
what
like
people
that.
are saying is, yeah, it looks like the flower in Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah.
So they're saying the smell of it is like you can. So the girl had it in her car. She's like, my whole car smells like everything is fake though. When you watch a video, so you don't know what to believe.
Yeah.
She's like this.
so
You're
extra,
supposed to
man.
smell it first and then eat it. But yeah, no. Everybody's saying like, yeah, it's a good strawberry.
Okay, you got people out
$20.
there complaining about this eggflation going on in the
Right.
States,
Yeah.
right?
$20.
Yeah,
That's
$20
LA
for an
culture.
egg. Yeah, and these guys got $20 strawberries for one strawberry.
But
Like, you want to
so,
talk about consumerism?
I was looking into it and like I was trying to like I just googled luxury fruit.
Mm.
There's this brand called Ikky fruits. I think that's what it's called. So they sell strawberries for $128 per pack. They have these things called crown melons. They just look like a cantaloupe to me. It was $156. There's a whole list. Like I didn't even know fruit was that expensive, but there's this. So it's all mostly from Japan. They have this like thing called a Yubari King melon. Goes for $30,000 US.
30,000.
Who's buying this fruit?
Something you're gonna eat.
Yeah,
This strawberry specifically, not it's a strawberry.
it's a
right?
strawberry. So it's like it's 2.5 inches big.
Okay.
I think it's like
There's-
9 ounces or something. So just a regular.
There's no like ice cream inside or something.
What?
I don't know, something.
No gold inside.
Nothing. Just $20 strawberry.
Bucks.
I feel like
That's so stupid.
But now it's like kind of become a trend on
Yeah,
social
yeah.
media.
Now
People are
they're gonna
just buying
sell
it
out.
like, oh, watch me try the strawberry.
Yeah.
yeah, that's marketing, right? That's like
Consumerism.
yeah,
right?
it's consumerism at its best, right? If
That's crazy.
If you can convince an idiot to buy a $20 strawberry, man, and you can convince a lot of idiots, you can make a lot of money.
Happening.
But would you eat it?
No,
You would just try it once? It's $20.
there's this part of me that's just when things like this happen.
I don't like getting tricked.
Oh,
like
these are the
somebody's-
strawberries that are, what did I say, $128.
Those don't even look like strawberries.
Those look
Yeah.
like somebody painted
But
them.
apparently even the white ones are like super sweet too.
Okay.
right? Like, what are we doing?
No, that just looks wrong.
Those
Why
look
are they
like
different
macarons
colors?
or something? They don't even look like strawberries.
That's weird.
Okay, so that's it for off topic.
Okay, let's move on to the question segment. So the first question is, would you take $100 million, but you have to give up internet for the rest of your life?
I'm inclined to say yes.
Yes.
Me too.
Yes. Fuck internet.
Right?
Yeah.
You don't
We'll
need
buy cable.
$100 million?
Yeah, it's a lot of
I
money.
just got to give up internet?
You invest that, you throw some in the S&P 500.
Think about
some
like
real estate.
But how
how
are you
much
gonna do
you
that?
use the internet.
How are you gonna go do that?
Yeah, you
The
can't.
old school way.
What's the old
Go to
call
Wall
back?
Street?
Yeah.
Hire, get a broker.
Does the operator still work? Can you like dial 0?
I don't know.
thing?
That was
Yeah.
a thing.
I don't think there's any operators
Or like the
anymore.
yellow page.
I think now you just call like the financial institution and then
But
ask
Yes,
for the
that
getting their
trade.
number. So I guess you would just like drive to your closest it would,
Oh,
like
but it's
it-
worth it, man.
yeah.
100% worth it.
100%.
Like your life would be harder with no internet, but the $100 million would make it a lot easier.
Yeah.
Because I think you can hire somebody who has internet, right? And you're just like, hey, listen, just let me know the news.
That sounds like a loophole.
Yeah.
Just put somebody on the payroll that has access to the internet.
No, not to make them like ask ChatGPT and stuff, but just to keep you in the loop because you don't even get like print news anymore or anything. So imagine if
Yeah,
you,
it's
you
all
weren't getting
online.
any information. If you're completely isolated and no internet, you don't know what the hell's going on.
Travel. Get news that way.
There's
Go to the
definitely,
source.
definitely. I agree. But imagine in this like ever so evolving AI world,
Yeah.
Right.
you don't even have internet, right?
I'd be in the south of France living it up. I don't need internet. I don't want to read articles.
Yeah.
I agree with you. But,
But your whole life, though.
It's okay.
my fear would be that there's the evolution of AI and the evolution of quantum computing gets so advanced that everyone knows that this thing is happening. They're all just, and I'm just like,
Yeah, that would
those
be
good,
too
nice
far
buildings.
behind, right? 'Cause we're not
the thing.
with
Would
the
be-
internet.
Yeah.
You wouldn't be
Fine at
informed.
the Rolex store. You guys can talk about the evolution of AI.
100 million is hard to pass off.
That's a lot,
100 million's
of
a lot of
money.
money. 100 million.
If you said 2 or something, it would probably be no.
Yeah.
100 million?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the least you would do it for?
Indies like 2.
He
He's gonna be like, I do it for
20K.
Okay. Okay. The next, we'll do a blind ranking. So rank the following cities according to where you would want to live. So these cities are all around the world, and there's 5 of them.
Okay.
So number 1, Vienna, Austria.
Vienna, Austria.
Mm-hmm.
The hell?
Yeah, but you could say like somewhere in South America, or like a very. You don't think so? I think we put Austria at 4.
Fine.
No,
Fine.
4 is good.
Right?
I don't know. I've never even heard of anyone going to Austria. I don't know how it is, the climate, nothing.
Vienna.
It's cold.
I just know Schwarzenegger, right? He's from there? Arnold?
Yeah.
Am I wrong? I feel like he is.
I think you're wrong.
Yeah.
Actually,
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay, never mind.
I don't really know him though.
That's the only reason I know
I
Austria.
feel like they have like 4 Seasons hotels and stuff there.
I'm sure they do.
Maybe.
He is Austrian.
There we go.
Maybe.
Fact.
All right. Well, I'm gonna-
What that means to live
that
there.
doesn't change anything.
Okay. Number 4.
Okay. Number 2 is Copenhagen, Denmark.
Denmark's not bad.
Denmark, I heard, is like really nice, and the
Yeah.
people are really nice. This is
Okay.
all from my dad, who went there. Really liked it.
Okay. So 3?
3?
3.
3.
3.
Okay.
3.
Okay. And then number 3 is Zurich, Switzerland.
Oh,
Switzerland.
Yeah.
but it's cold.
No, but what's
Swiss-
left? We have
Swiss
we got
Alps
2
and
left.
stuff.
So this has
Switzerland's
to
a
be-
popular tourist
This
place.
has to be 2 or 5.
but this is
This
lifetime.
can't be 1.
So it's 2 or 5.
No, it's not like you can't ever leave. You can still jump on a plane and go to places. Live.
Loophole.
It's 2 or
Somebody's
5.
gotta find
Fine, too.
2?
2.
Okay. 2.
Okay. And then number 4 is Vancouver, Canada.
PC.
That's gotta be 1 just because.
That's fine.
Yeah, life wouldn't change much.
Yeah, it wouldn't
Right?
change
Yeah.
much,
Be
right?
the same.
Okay.
Should we make that 1?
Yeah, we'll make that 1.
Okay.
And then number 5, which would be number 5 for your list as well, is Melbourne,
I need
Australia.
Australia.
Damn.
Which, no, not damn. You see
Yeah.
those spiders? You see those videos of like the
No,
creatures
for
that
sure.
live there?
But
Yeah.
wouldn't
Australia
you?
is cool though.
Yeah, wouldn't you? That would be number 2.
And all the
right?
Joeys.
What is it? Yeah. What do we have there? It's
But also Melbourne. Like, what do you know about that? Everyone knows Sydney. Everyone knows Queensland. What's in Melbourne?
a developed country. So
It's Melbourne, by the way.
yeah, it's Melbourne.
What?
If we're gonna live there. That's how it's pronounced.
So the 5 cities that I named are actually ranked as the top 5 cities to live in the
Oh,
world
no
based
way.
on a global livability ranking.
Vancouver.
So what's the ranking then?
The way that I said it. So the order that I said was 1 to 5.
Oh,
Oh.
Austria first?
Yeah, Austria's first.
And we just complete.
You put that at 4.
Because we didn't know about it. We don't know about
So
it.
Vancouver was
It's just
number
like
4.
ranked on based on factors like quality of life, safety, healthcare, education, infrastructure.
Vancouver not
We
safe.
got Australia. That's 1 point.
Yeah, 5 and 5.
We got that early.
And we wanted to put
Yeah.
it higher. That should have been 2. Yeah.
That's it for the questions.
Okay. And with that, it's a wrap. Remember, we're not experts on anything. You guys should always do your own research. I'm gonna catch you guys next week.
Take care, everybody.